All right. Hi, guys. We're going to be talking about Chapter 7 today. We're going to talk about pre-contemplation for recovery and cultivating seeds for change. I'm Ember.
My name's Daniel.
All right, guys, let's get into it.
Okay. Um, of the 6 stages of change, pre-contemplation will be the first, followed by contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and then relapse. Our focus on pre-contemplation, I like to think of as the stage of ignorance a lot of times, or the stage of denial a lot of times, the stage where people are not ready for treatment, not ready to get help, um, outwardly ready, but they are in that place where they're getting ready, or they're about to have their eyes open to some things. Um, Sometimes in pre-contemplation, the client does not believe they have a problem. The client does not intend to change soon. They'll minimize their use and the consequences of it. And oftentimes they end up in treatment or getting help because they are court ordered. So they might be in pre-contemplation mentally and physically be in treatment at some point. Um, Oftentimes, a patient or client will stay in the pre-contemplation stage because of previous failed attempts, tried before and weren't able to do it, which affects their confidence. There's also biological factors. Oftentimes, addiction changes decision making in people. A lot of studies, science the on the brain and the frontal lobe, and our what part of our brain's being used in a lot of addiction models. People are no longer thinking rationally how they normally would. Oftentimes, you'll hear people talk about their addict brain. Thing, my addict brain didn't feel pain. My addict brain didn't feel consequences. So there's definitely a biological factor that can be a big part of being stuck in this pre-contemplation stage. Overall, there's a lack of awareness, though, and then you've got all the social issues as well. Things like peer pressure or peer groups, what someone's lifestyle may be. There's a lot of things to really lock people into this stage. We are going to talk more of depth on the 5 R's, but I want to list them here, and then we'll talk about them a little bit later. But R's are reveling, reluctance, rebellion, resignation, and rationalization. On the brain, I'll talk about those in a bit. If there needs, all these terms are fairly self-explanatory, but reveling would be, enjoying, believing that you enjoy the lifestyle you live, believing enjoying the drug use, enjoying the escape from pain, escape from emotional issues. So people do revel in that and do decide, or that keeps them in their place. Causing a reluctance. Client has limited knowledge of awareness of the problem. Is hesitant to consider change because of uncertainty or lack of understanding or information. Rebellion, people do find themselves in treatment programs or facing the need or requirement to do so due to ultimatums from courts or from ex-spouses or family members, things like that. And so there is a big pushback from clients a lot of the time, just for the sake of having their rights taken away or the belief that they're having them taken away. And a lot of people get lost in this, and there's the resignation. They believe that they're resigned to their situation and that they can't change, they won't change, and what would be the point? And rationalization, I think, is where people get at the end. It happens to be the last on the list, but it's also, if people start rationalizing, they're also at a point where they are, there's a requirement, and something's making them rationalize this, and it is the factors. Things are coming to a head. And so justifying your substance use as something, I'm not an addict. I only do it like this. I do it, I only drink on weekends, or I use responsibly. I'm a functioning addict, things like that. Those are examples of the rationalization that takes place that would lock somebody into this stage. Take yours.
All right, we're going to talk about Michael, talk about his case study. Michael is 34 and he is a Hispanic male. He lives in the Salt Lake Valley. He's kind of grown up living all over Salt Lake. He is recently divorced from his wife of 10 years and they have an 8-year-old daughter. And right now, he currently has limited visitation with his daughter. He is employed at a local warehouse as a forklift operator. And Michael was referred to the agency from a court order following his second DUI. And his presenting problem, he reports drinking alcohol just like everyone else, and he believes that his legal problems are a result of bad luck rather than his drinking. He denies needing any type of treatment, and he reports that he only intends to complete the program because he is required to do so for court. So he is definitely in this pre-contemplation stage. Especially he's just not thinking that he has a problem right now, and he's only doing this because it is court ordered. He has quite a length of time for his substance use, alcohol being his main thing. He first started using when he was about 15, and he continued, and his regular use began at around age 18. And currently, he's drinking between 8 to 12 beers daily, and he also indulges in binge drinking on the weekends, which can result to him blacking out. Several times. He's reported that several times over the past year. He's had 2 DUI arrests as well. He also reports using cocaine, and he reported that around age 24. That's when he started that. And he uses it socially about twice a month. He denies any type of dependence with cocaine. He also started using tobacco at around age 17, using about 1 pack a day. So he has alcohol, cocaine, and tobacco as part of his substance use history. For his social history, I want to talk about his parents. His parents were divorced in his adolescence, around his teenage years, and they had an abusive relationship on and off again, a very volatile relationship. His father also has an alcohol use disorder and still currently does. He is following in that footsteps a little bit. He has very limited contact with his siblings as an adult, which can make him feel isolated as well. He is, like we mentioned, recently divorced after an ongoing conflict related to alcohol use, which is also resulting in limited visitation with his daughter. He's also in the social environment where most of his friends do drink regularly, so it is very easy for him to be caught up in that side of the drinking. He also reports feeling isolated outside of work. His mental health history, he reports some irritability and poor sleep, and usually those two can go hand in hand. He reports increased stress, and he denies any type of suicidal or homicidal ideation. Definitely something we still want to take a closer look at. His housing status is he is currently renting a room from one of his friends. So he does have stable housing, but he doesn't have his own place, which can result in kind of that situation with his daughter as well. He doesn't have his own place to have regular visitation, so that can be a struggle for him. Some of the screeners we want to talk about are the ACEs. Definitely the ACEs with his volatile childhood with his parents and having substance use in the home. We definitely want to take a look at that and see where it has kind of put his ACEs scores. We also want to talk about the CAGE. That has to do with alcohol as well. Want to look at the locus and really see where his mental health is. He has mentioned a little bit about it, but we want to kind of dive deeper into that. Want to talk about the Holmes-Ray stress inventory, and really see where his stress levels are and see how elevated his stress is, especially with his recent divorce. We really want to take a closer look at that. The DAS-21 is also for mental health. The audit and the MAST are two that we want to take a dive deep into. For alcohol, that's something we really want to take a look at. The DAS-10 is drug screening, so we want to look at that and see where his cocaine use is at and kind of see how frequent it is and see the severity of it. For the ASAM, this will help us kind of determine his level of care and really the next steps for Michael and to see how we can assist him.
Well, so now we know Michael, a little bit about him, a little bit of his background, where he comes from, why he's in the place he is, or at least outwardly looking in. Um, So applying the 5 R's we talked about, or that I mentioned before, these are a little bit more specific examples of how those apply. And in Michael's situation, reveling, he would say things like, having beers after work is the best part of my day. It helps me relax. I don't see why I'd give it up. Focus on the positive effects of drinking and sees little reason to change. Revels in that, in the times he has drinking and using drugs. Reluctance, Michael states, I don't really know what treatment's supposed to do for me. He has limited understanding. He probably barricades himself from the ideas and the consequences of treatment with that. And he's being forced to be there. And so there it moves on to rebellion. He has the DUIs, he's being forced to go, and he's kind of flipping the bird to the society or to the situation he's in. And I wouldn't be here if I wasn't being forced. He found himself in a state of resignation. A lot of addicts will believe that that is what they are. They are an addict, and they are resigned to that, and their understanding of that is eternal. That's where they're going to be. So, Michael has the misfortune of having a father with the same issues, and so for him, he used his dad as an example. His dad drank his whole life, and he didn't get over that. He didn't stop apparently, and Michael, says people like us don't change. So he's resigned to the state of addiction, and then he moved in the last phase of rationalization. I believe this is the point where people are making a step towards getting out of pre-contemplation, because they're having to face their demons. They're having to face the courts. They're having to face everything that is brought to this moment, and rationalizing is their kind of last ditch effort to justify or to explain away who they are, what they are, how they are. The quote here is Michael is, everyone I work with drinks after work, and I've never missed rent because of alcohol. He mentions the consequences, or he minimizes the consequences and justifies drinking by comparing himself to others. Rationalization takes a lot of forms, and as I said before, I believe it is the last stage. It is a positive inside the pre-contemplation, because even though it is one person finding excuses for themselves, ultimately, hopefully, it's going to help people to face some hard truths. So, pre-contemplation is a complex, more than anything, I would say, a unique situation for everybody. Everyone's going to have their own circumstances, their own ultimatums being enforced, their own consequences, and their own belief systems, their own society, their own social circles, things that make their situation very unique, and how it applies to each person is going to be different. But applying the 5 R's and understanding that is a great way for not only the addict themselves to understand what's going on, or to find a way to hopefully be removed from this pre-contemplation phase, but for those that are around them, their support systems, to understand this is happening. Reveling, reluctance, rebellion, resignation, rationalization. And it's been a pleasure sharing this with you. I hope you take something from it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I fudged up in the middle, so I kind of quit, like the thought that this would be the final one.
It's all right.
Unless, maybe